How's it going, everybody? There is another testing ground around the corner. To be more precise, it's going to be on November 17th. I'm making this video well in advance, so I don't know how long it's going to be until then. What we know is that it's going to be a non-hero testing ground. It'll be about a game mechanic. And that is exactly why I'm bringing this whole topic up. Because the last testing ground that had core gameplay changes was the one about guard break vulnerability and recoveries. And that one didn't go well. In fact, it was scrapped completely, which, quite frankly, should have never happened, and I want to talk to the community about this and also address Ubisoft. So the video will be split in two parts, just to get it out of the way. I'm not happy with how that very testing ground was handled. Neither we, the community, nor Ubisoft have shown their best sides here. Now, why is that? For one, the guard break vulnerability changes weren't just a singular change that reshaped the way the game is played. It was many small individual changes that could be put under the umbrella of quote-unquote guard break vulnerability changes. Within those, there were quite a few really bad ones, but way more really great ones. Why is that such a problem for the community? Look at it like this. You are somebody that tries to keep informed. The very fact that you are engaging with this video or reading up somewhere else is already proof of that. But you are also a minority when it comes to gamers. Most of them don't play a single round of TG or even know it's happening. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, they do have an opinion. Probably one that can really easily be influenced. So, without knowing much about what the changes are all about, the only thing they might see is shit like this. Yeah, get it, some of the get real gifs are funny, but here they are counterproductive. All of that TG is being condensed into a handful of stupid gifs, and at the same time they sway opinion massively and thus create outrage. People that have no idea of what they're talking about create a huge fuss. But not over the whole TG, just 2 or 3 changes that I've been exposed to. Granted, most of these have just shown you are stupid. I agree with the sentiment. Charge splashes should remain to be GBable, for example. You shouldn't bounce on the end recovery and have a counter guard break fest, exposing yourself to additional damage in teamfights. Yeah, stuff like that. I'm completely on board here. But what this also created was a very hostile environment and outlook on the whole TG. And my god, there were so many great changes in that testing ground that should have absolutely made it into the game. There isn't even an argument for things like wall bounces not giving a guard break. I'm not going to go over the changes from back then, that is not the point of this video. I'll link to a dojo video where the topic is discussed and you can refresh your memory there. My point today is that by the way we gave feedback during that testing round, we robbed ourselves of many great changes. These big core gameplay changes will always have things in it that we disagree with. They will always include things that should have never seen the light of day. But it's also a testing ground, a place to test things, and Ubisoft gets feedback from the community. We don't want to make Ubisoft afraid to test things by the way we react to it. And I'm not excluding myself here. I am known to rant and yell and all that. To a large degree this is for comedic effects, in case people haven't caught on to that. It's easy to convey a feeling with hyperbole. Just like the GIFs, they boil something complex down to something quite simple, even a monkey can understand, and thus create the desired response. And oh boy, was that a response. There was massive outrage, cries of this being the worst TG we've ever seen, the usual threats and delusional takes, but that's nothing new or exclusive to For Honor really. It's just sad actually. But alright, let me actually make my point. And that being, we need to get better at giving feedback. The ways of the toddler throwing a tantrum on the floor is doing us no good. We know that Ubisoft does react to big community outcries, as they should, to a degree at least, but for the most part, the moment Ubisoft reacts to Reddit outrage, the game is taking a turn for the worse, like each and every time. Look at Orochi, look at Griffin. The heroes are objectively weaker, while nothing changed for the simpletons that complained. It was a pure reactionary nerf that was simply done to appease a bunch of idiots. But with the guard break vulnerability TG, it felt like it wasn't only idiots. So many people were so hell-bent on not having some of these changes in the game that they completely blocked out all the good things and eventually managed to get the whole thing scrapped. It certainly is one way of not getting the changes, but at what cost really? I do not want to see this repeated again. We need to be much more nuanced the next time and communicate what we absolutely need from a TG, not just what we dislike. Moving on, let's look at Ubisoft then, because this is not a one-way street here. For one, please stop giving us TGs that aren't properly implemented. It wasn't a first, we've had this a few times. We cannot properly test things that aren't working. Can extrapolate some things, sure, but oftentimes it pans out differently than expected. I know you want to get in as many changes as possible to get the most out of the week that we get to test. I know it's not easy with the tight schedule and all that, consoles. But the Gabrick Vulnerability TG is just such a negative example of what can happen. Then let's talk about the knee-jerk reactions to Reddit. While I might question the viability of their feedback, it is feedback nonetheless, and if it gets too loud and too out of control, then you need to react to it. It makes perfect sense. What doesn't make sense is the way we see the reaction. Let's just say the complete scrapping of that TG came as a surprise to me. I would have never expected it. It just seems like a scenario where you wanted to cut your losses and be done with it. Because convincing people of something they've already made their mind up about is hard work. And I wouldn't want to be in your shoes of having to teach somebody that not being able to GB a landed finisher is a good thing for them. But just because it's hard doesn't mean it's impossible. The person that was in charge of that TG is very much capable of discerning actual complaints that warrant changes from mindless outrage. I have no doubt in my mind that he'd be able to deliver another iteration of that TG that would address many of the concerns, both from knowledgeable community members as well as sheep that will just respond with a GIF they don't quite know the meaning of in the first place. Trust in your employees, Ubisoft. You've trained them for years. They know what they're doing. Allow them to test things and back them up when they get community backlash. Don't throw them under the bus like that by scrapping all the hard work. Because let's be honest, the people you appeased by that, if you ask them to outline the issues with said TG, the medium they choose to convey their thoughts would be finger paint. With that said, the very reason we're having these TGs and changes in the first place is to improve the game. We need Ubisoft for that, and they need us for the feedback. I want this game to continue to get better. It's annoying to see setbacks like that, simply because of miscommunication and overreaction. I hope we all can do better in the next one that actually results in good changes. Like I said in the beginning, I'm 100% certain that there will be things we don't like. Let's not let those things drown out the great changes that will, without a doubt, also be in that TG. Alright, that's it. I said what I wanted to. Share your thoughts down below, subscribe, join the Discord, do all the things you get asked 17 times a day on YouTube. Hope the video was interesting. Thanks for watching. Laters, everybody.